Switch 2 is a very well-oiled machine.
The Nintendo Switch 2 has been out for a little while now. And well, let's just say the honeymoon phase is officially over. From consoles having seizures and freezing up at random to the YouTube app straight up not working. Oh, and don't even get me started on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the game that should be a masterpiece, crashing. It's just insane. Add to that the pricing of the game and you've got people asking questions like, is it worth the $450 price tag? Are the games worth $80, $90? And the most important one, do you actually need to upgrade from the original Switch, or is Nintendo just betting on your nostalgia again? In this video, we are diving deep into all the issues I just mentioned, as well as doing an in-depth comparison between the Nintendo Switch 2 and the O.GSwitch. Starting with the Switch 2 issues, one of the units acting like it had a seizure got me really curious. Now, personally, I haven't experienced this issue, but I knew deep inside the weeds of Reddit would be the perfect place to find the details of the issue as well as possible solutions. So after combing through the thread, the user complained about their unit being broken after they left it overnight unplugged in its dock. Despite restarting it 3 times, it still acted the same way and they couldn't get it to work. Now, with the level of IT support on Reddit, you'd expect a solution to be found easy, but for this particular one, there was no definitive answer. And just like this guy, my guess would be either the connector or screen came loose. Returning it to the store and getting another unit would be the easiest fix. Another notable issue was Paper Mario and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom crashing. And again, just like the first issue, I did experience it personally. For this user on Reddit, his unit repeatedly crashed on those 2 titles. In the process of trying to weed out some possible solutions from the thread, I ended up bumping into another user with a somewhat similar issue, only that for this one, the game in question was Mario Kart. Once again, the IT gurus in the thread didn't come in clutch and the owner opted to return it to the store and get a new unit. Now, moving to an issue that's not related to gaming, I couldn't get the YouTube app to work. This was another surprise, given that on the O.GSwitch it worked seamlessly. As always, I tried to find a workaround, and after doing some digging on the internet, I found out that the YouTube app is not optimized for the Switch 2 just yet. So for now, we'll have to contend without the YouTube app. And while contending with not using the YouTube app, I also found out that Hulu and Crunchyroll diehards will suffer the same fate. Fingers crossed, Nintendo sorts out these issues as soon as possible. Now, at this point, some people may be like, the Switch 2 isn't worth it just yet, but for some, they may be willing to give it a crack, but not before they find out the real differences between the Switch 2 and the O.GSwitch. For that subset of people, here's the complete breakdown of the 2 Switches. Starting with hardware, Nintendo isn't known for blowing us away with spec sheets. They are the kings of weird, fun design, and the Switch 2 follows with that trend. At first glance, the design language is more or less the same, although the Switch 2 is bigger and feels more premium than the O.GSwitch. Something I have to point out is the matte finish isn't a fingerprint magnet, just like the original's glossy Joy-Cons. But if left unclean, they can turn smudgy really fast. Bezels are a tad bit thinner. It's like somebody told Nintendo it's not 2014 anymore. The new screen is edge-to-edge with saddle caps, giving it a more modern and sleek look. The kickstand is also way better. I'm sure most of you can recall the backlash this tiny flimsy thing on the O.GSwitch got. Now it's wide with an adjustable hinge that actually holds up when you decide to play in tabletop mode. The only problem I have with it is it's made of plastic and any moderate fall would easily break it. Compared to the original Switch, though, it's miles ahead. As for the ports and buttons, they've also been streamlined. The volume rocker and the power buttons are still on the top left, but on the Switch 2, they feel more tactile. The cartridge slot now has a dust-proof enclosure, which is a nice quality touch. The vents have also been re-engineered for better airflow, but without making the whole device feel like it needs a new fan every 6 months. The Switch 2 also got an extra USB-C port, which will come in handy when charging while in tabletop mode. As for the display, it's now 1080p, although still LCD. The original Switch, on the other hand, had a 720p LCD screen, which was fine at the time, but compared side by side, you can clearly see the Switch 2 is better. The colors pop, and playing in handheld mode feels like a genuine upgrade. Speaking of things feeling like a genuine upgrade, the performance and specs got a genuine upgrade. The Switch 2 is rocking a custom Nvidia chip called the Tegra T239, which is an upgrade from the Tegra X1 of the original Switch. In my opinion, it's the biggest jump we've seen in performance from Nintendo since, well, ever. Frame rates are smoother, textures are sharper, load times almost non-existent. You can feel the difference instantly, especially if you've spent years on the original Switch hearing your fan sound like it's about to launch into space. Oh, and yes, DLSS upscaling is real. It makes the Switch 2 look way better on a 4K TV than the original Switch ever could. It's still not PS5 level, but for a portable console, it's impressive. Now, here's where we've got to talk about the elephant in the room: Joy-Con drift. As you might recall, the OG Joy-Cons were infamous for drifting. For those who have no idea what Joy-Con drift is, it's basically when you're steering Mario on the board and without you changing direction, he just finds his way to the side. This was a major problem for Nintendo, to the point where lawsuits were even being filed, and tell you what, Nintendo did fix a lot of them. Lucky for Nintendo, the lawsuits were eventually dismissed, but it was quite damaging to Nintendo's reputation. As a result, they went back to the drawing board, and what came out of it? The Joy-Con internals on the Switch 2 were completely overhauled. Hall effect sensors, better rails, stronger magnets, all that good stuff, and so far, no drift. Let's hope it stays that way, because a $450 console for those in the US and $700 for us in Australia shouldn't have haunted thumbsticks. Ergonomically, although not the best, the Switch 2 Joy-Cons feel more comfortable in hand. They are slightly more contoured, the buttons have a better click, the analog sticks feel like they've got more resistance and a smoother glide, the shoulder buttons have been redesigned for better travel, and the magnetic attachment is better than the slide. When it comes to battery life, on the original Switch, it was all over the place. From my experience, it ranged between 2 to 4 hours depending on the game, brightness, and whether you dared to use Wi-Fi. And to be honest, stretching the range to 4 hours, I'm being quite generous. With the Switch 2 on the other hand, we are finally seeing real strides in efficiency. Thanks to display improvements, we are talking 2 to 6 hours of actual playtime, even on demanding titles. And here's the kicker: the new battery isn't just larger, it's smarter with adaptive power management, which tweaks the CPU and GPU usage on the fly. That means the Switch 2 can throttle it up during loading screens and heavy cutscenes, then dial it back when you're in a quiet menu. It's subtle, but definitely adds up. And the thermals? Night and day difference. If you would ask me, the original Switch could double up as a hand warmer. The Switch 2, on the other hand, has a redesigned internal heat pipe system and a quieter, more efficient fan that rarely hits audible levels. Even during long sessions in docked mode, it stays surprisingly cool to the touch. No more jet engine sounds, no more sweaty palms in handheld mode, just smooth performance, low heat, and a better gaming experience. Moving along, let's talk about something that low-key made the original Switch a pain to use: Wi-Fi. The original Switch shipped with an aging 802.11 AC wireless chip, and while that was possible in 2017, it struggled with stability, range, and download speeds. Game updates would crawl, and online play, especially in games like Splatoon, were a mixed bag without wired connection. Enter the Switch 2. It's finally equipped with Wi-Fi 6E, which means faster speeds, lower latency, and support for the 5 GHz band. Translation: way less interference and way more stable download speeds, especially if you are gaming in a crowded household. You'll see noticeably quicker game installations, snappier eShop browsing, and better matchmaking performance. And get this, there's built-in support for Bluetooth 5.2. You can now connect wireless headphones natively with lower latency and better audio quality. No more clunky dongles or third-party workarounds. Whether you're on the train or couch, it just works. When it comes to storage, the original Switch launched with only 32 gigs. That's less than some indie games today. Now, you'd think Nintendo would bump it up significantly in the mid-cycle refresh that was the OLED, but they only gave us 64 gigs, which meant juggling game installs was part of the experience. The Switch 2, on the other hand, bumped it up to 256 gigs, and it's UFS 3.1. meaning it's way faster than the eMMC used in the older models. Now, hang in there, I know I've lost you for a second. To break down some of that tough jargon, UFS 3.1 is the next generation of Universal Flash Storage, whereas eMMC stands for Embedded Multimedia Card. With that upgrade in technology, games load quicker, updates apply faster, and navigating the UI feels snappier overall. Of course, you can still expand via microSD, but for the Switch 2, it has to be the Express microSD, otherwise it won't work. Storage aside, what about the games? Let's be honest, Nintendo lives and dies by its exclusives. The good news is the Switch 2 is backward compatible, both digitally and physically. That means your old Switch library will work with no troubles. Your cartridges from 2017, slide them in and you'll get that nostalgia from when you first played it. Your digital purchases tied to your Nintendo account, instantly accessible on your new hardware. No messy repurchasing, just seamless access. And even better, many of those titles run better out of the box thanks to the upgraded hardware and automatic performance boosts. If you thought that was all, Nintendo has gone a step further. They're rolling out what they call Switched Enhanced titles. Think of it like Xbox's Smart Delivery, but Nintendo style. Games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Animal Crossing are receiving graphical overhauls, faster load times, and smoother frame rates when played on the Switch 2 without requiring a new purchase. In addition to that, some are even getting subtle gameplay tweaks and bonus content exclusive to the enhanced version, but at an extra cost. That aside, we've also got new blood in the pipeline. Titles like Metroid Prime 4 and Mario Odyssey 2 will be coming to the Switch 2 in the not-so-distant future. Now, while Metroid Prime 4 isn't a reskin, Nintendo hasn't confirmed if Mario Odyssey 2 will be a reskin. Fingers crossed, Mario Odyssey 2 gets built from the ground up to take advantage of Nintendo's new architecture. Moving along, longtime fans of Nintendo will appreciate this, but there's a catch. Game Boy Advance, GameCube, and even select Wii titles are slowly rolling out via the revamped Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, but you'll have to pay for the higher tier of the subscription in order to access these retro titles as well as Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games. So, whether you're diving into your backlog or starting afresh, the Nintendo Switch 2 gives you options but at an extra cost. Now, let's talk about the price because it's hefty. The Nintendo Switch 2 retails at $450 American for the base model. That's just the console. No pack in-game, no Pro controller, no screen protector, nothing. Now, adding a first-party title like Mario Kart World, maybe a carrying case or extra Joy-Con set, and you're looking at $700 to $800 easy. To put that into perspective, that's $50 to $100 more than the PS5 Slim. You could grab Sony's machine with a game, a controller, and next-gen power that runs laps on the Switch 2 from a technical standpoint. Or you could opt for a Steam Deck OLED or ROG Ally, which also gives you PC flexibility. To add to the price headache, Nintendo are also charging $10 American for the welcome tour. That's just bonkers. They should have copied what PlayStation did with Astro's Playroom and made it free. In saying all of that, there's a subset of people the Switch 2 appeals to, even though they're not selling you all the cutting-edge specs. They're selling you a curated experience, and you're buying into a first-party game lineup with zero dads for the most part, seamless hybrid portability with console games you could take anywhere, a device designed around fun and not frames per second, and yes, nostalgia. You're not just paying for tech. You're paying to re-experience what it felt like playing Mario Kart at 12, or to reintroduce your kids to Zelda in 2025 the way you experienced it in 2002. And we also have to talk about value over time. The original Switch launched at $299 American in 2017 and kept its value absurdly well. Even in 2025, used units sold for $200 plus. That's unheard of in consumer tech. So yeah, the upfront cost is steep, but history tells us the long-term value retention might justify it. But still, it's fair to call this a premium price. This is the most expensive Nintendo console ever, but even then, Nintendo reports it has sold the highest number of units in the first few weeks. If you're planning to get it to play a handful of games or plan to use it mostly docked, the cost to benefit ratio shrinks. So the big question is the Switch 2 worth upgrading to? If you've been holding on to your launch Switch like a badge of honor, or suffering through Joy-Con drift and 30 FPS gameplay, it's a no-brainer. The performance leap is real. The display has got a much-needed facelift and it just feels premium. And yeah, it's expensive, but if you're already deep into the Nintendo ecosystem, you'll feel the difference from day one. If you're planning to play it mostly docked, the Switch 1 is still a great machine, and now it's cheaper than ever. In the end, it comes down to this. It's not perfect, but Nintendo finally caught up. Not to Sony or Microsoft, but to the expectations of their own fanbase. And somehow, that's the most Nintendo thing ever. Well, there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think. Are you making the jump or holding off for a pro version in 2031? I hope you enjoyed and found this video helpful. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. Here's the unboxing video of the Nintendo Switch 2. Until then, people of the internet, see you over here.